National Park, so I probably have the most recreational boating in the world in my area. I think there are more boats per capita in my district than anywhere else on Earth, and at the same time we have a vibrant, although stressed, group of people that are engaged in fishing and make their living. So I want to ask a few questions, but generally, as I look across, and you'll forgive me for having arrived a little bit late, as I look across to all of you, if you were to say what the state of our fishing is since the last reauthorization, where it is today, would you say it's positive, or would you say it's neutral, or would you say we're falling behind? And I'll just start with Rick, and we'll go that way.
I'd say it's...
And you can make an additional comment.
Sure, I'd just say it's positive with just the need to do some rebalancing.
I'd say it's working very well. Positive.
I would say in the Gulf it's positive with some caveats. We've had some redirected effort that has impacted what the fisheries and other species look like as the IFQ went into place in 07 and 010.
I too think it's generally positive, but we do need now to fix the rebuilding requirements. We've ended overfishing. That's the biggest positive effect, and now we've gone too far.
I think we've turned the corner, and the difficulty now will be in managing the recovery of these species and properly allocating them.
Definitely positive, but positive only because of the regulatory mandates that are put on the council process.
Okay. I'm going to go back to Rick here real quick, but any of you that want to comment on it, since I don't think anyone else is, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, is waiting. So fishermen have, at least I've found when I meet with the fishermen, they have an extensive knowledge of the species they catch, and I believe that knowledge needs to be included in what we're doing in terms of management. And so the broad question is, do you agree? And does the bill do enough to include the deep knowledge that some of the people who work with these resources have? Rick and anybody else who...
Well, I wholly agree, and I've been a big proponent of cooperative research anywhere that we can get it, and we've been asking for it down in your region, sir. We've had good success for it elsewhere. In fact, I want to take the Northeast Cooperative Research Program, clone it, and move it around the country so we would actually have a dedicated cooperative research program in every single region, because I think the fishermen can bring a tremendous amount of research capability to the table, their knowledge, using their boats as platform, helping them keep employed when they're not fishing, and producing assessment grade work. We've shown we can do that. We need to do more of it.
None of you have a comment? Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Cooperative research, this goes back to the earlier discussion about were we sampling rigs, were we sampling reefs, or were you just throwing gear in the middle of the desert? Getting the real truth from people who know where it's at, and then seeing what the trend is by going back to these sites year after year is key.
I guarantee blowing up rigs is probably the worst part we could do.
Conservation requires stewardship, and buy-in to the science and the data that underlies it is hugely important, and I think collaborative research is the biggest step in that.
Well, I think I can speak on behalf of the RFA that cooperative research is critical, and I think a perfect example would be the alarms that we were getting from all of the fishermen on the spiny dogfish issue before we lost complete control of that a few years ago, and now we're suffering the effects of that.
I would generally agree, but I just caution that it's dangerous to generalize an assumption that because people fish or because they speak about it, that they really know about it. And I was one of those people until I really got involved in this council process and got an education that, you know, and held basically every public hearing in the state of Florida for 9 years. The things I've heard are unbelievable from people that you would think and who should know better. Yeah. So it's difficult to just generalize.
Well,
there are a lot of people who know.
Yeah, no, there's no question. I'm a fisherman, and I have no idea what I'm talking about usually, but it's a general rule about fishermen. I want to go back to the recreational part. Now, I'll start with you, Mr. Geiger, because I think it's important. We've heard from several witnesses that recreational fishing community complains about MRIP program, right? But this bill does nothing to improve data collection in most of the recreational fisheries. You're talking to a recreational fisherman. So how do you think we should go about improving the certainty and accountability of this sector?
To make those improvements would be cost prohibitive. The way the MRIP system is set up, it's a trend analysis. It demonstrates a trend in the recreational fisheries. That data, although not precise, although not a real data set that is like firm catch data based on landings,
Right.
it is data that is used in the assessment process. All the data used in a stock assessment process is weighted by the assessment scientists. And through that weighting, that data can have different impacts on the eventual result in the stock assessment. In addition to weighting that data, they also do sensitivity runs. So they artificially inflate the MRIP data and they artificially deflate the MRIP data to see what impact it has on the assessment. And because of the weighting of MRIP data, it really doesn't have all that much consequence to the end result in an assessment. You know, things such as recreational fishing release mortality has far more impact on the end result of the stock assessment than the MRIP data in terms of effort.
Mr. Chairman, would you mind if anybody else wants to answer that I could just take it real quick? The same question, I'm not going to change it. Anybody want to weigh in?
If I may, the MRIP data is all that we have, and it's years behind schedule, and maybe once we fully implement it and have some experience with it and can fine-tune it, it will be worth more. But being all that we have to use it, but we have to take it in perspective, and we have to give it credit only to the limit that we know it is not 100%.
Well, again, thank you all for being here. I didn't mention that at the beginning, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your indulgence.
Thank you. And Rick, one last question.